Okay, so now we're on to our first actual assignment for this class. And it is a code along for section 3. And we're going to do section 3 in two parts, one Monday night, half of it, the other half on Thursday night. And so I've already talked about how the course is organized, and hopefully that's starting to make some sense. So now let me talk specifically about this item. So, of course, you're watching this video first. And then what I want you to do, and this is key, is just to watch section 1 and 2 in the Udemy course. So by now, you know that this is the course that we have. Here is the section 1 and section 2. And what's happened really is on my week 0, we covered setting up our local computers, installing Visual Studio Code. What we didn't do, and what I'm going to show you now, is installing Node.js. And I will just tell you that in this course, he shows installing Commander. It is optional for sure. I don't recommend installing this. I remember when I first started using his course, I tried it and it just was a pain because basically everything you need is built right into VS Code. So why do it? And then what I think is important is to actually do the introduction to the terminal. I think this is good content. And then the last thing he does here is actually starting to write some code. So what I'm going to do first is just walk through the Node.js install. I'll write the hello world. And then we'll finish by just talking about what you need to do to actually do this week's assignment. Okay. So having said that, you might wonder if you don't know about Node.js, and he talks a little about it right here, and he actually covers the install, which is great. But Node.js is used on the server, and the reason he uses it in this course is that he's going to run code on the command line before we get into the browser. And I end up showing you how to run code in the browser sooner than he does, which is totally fine. So this step just means that instead of running JavaScript in the browser, which is normally where it's run, we're going to run it on the command line. So to do that, we have to have Node.js. So just FYI, one thing you can do, I'm going to switch over to VS Code. I'm going to go into a new terminal. And just to show you, node version, I don't have it. Remember, as I've said before, on my Windows side, this is a completely new installation, so I know it's not there. And I just wanted to show you, and you can do this on your own system because there may be a chance, depending on the classes that you've taken, that it could be there. So for a moment, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. And then I'm going to navigate, and you can just search Google for Node.js. And then there's two versions. One is called long-term support, recommended for most users, which is version 14. And then the latest current things are working on. So it's more of the new features that Node.js has. Honestly, we'll be fine with 14. I typically like to do the latest version, so you can do either version here. Now notice here, at least on my Windows side and on the Mac side, I believe it installs a DMG file, which is an install file. For Windows side, it's an MSI file. So what you can do is once it's downloaded, you just click into here and we'll walk through the installation together. And let me just minimize this so you can see it. Okay. Say the wizard is going to install it on your computer. I accept the licensing. And then we're going to change. I'm going to leave this as default. Now, part of what Node comes with, and actually one of the really big benefits, is the Node package manager. And we'll talk about why this is so popular, because it's really, if we want to add things into our local environment or functionality added into our code, we'll be using NPM. And that when you install Node, you get NPM with it. Okay, so I'm good with all these settings. It's also going to add it to my path, which I need for me to run it in the command line. So I'll hit next. I'm not going to install this. Ready to install, and we'll go ahead and do that. And then I get the message, do you want to allow? And I'm going to say yeah. Cool. So it's installing it here again in the Mac side. You should be this is a typical install. You're installing some software on your local system. And again, Node.js is meant to run on the server, but we're going to run it for command line coding just so we can focus on the code before we get into the browser. So I'll show you what I mean by that now. So in the last section where he writes the hello world, and this is the key to this, is I want you, because all of the code alongs that we do will be done in the private directory or the private repo in this case. So I want you to create a new folder here called bootcamp. Okay. And then under bootcamp, right, we're going to write our first file, but then I'll show you in a second what I want you to use for like the next section, the section 3. But for now that I'm here, right, I can use the interface to say new file. So I'm just going to say hello world or hello.js. Okay, now what I'm doing here is I'm creating a new file. I'm telling it the folder I want it to be in. Cool. And now I can just say console.log. And this is the code that he wrote. Hello world. Okay. So now the key is, how do you run it? Right? How do we see the output of this? And he shows you by showing the command line. So I just want to show you some of the ways you can do this here. Right? So we're going to say open an integrated terminal. What this is doing when I do that is it's actually going to open my terminal into that directory. So I could navigate here. I could just say Rio -pri private. Oh, let me see. I'm in the right? Rio W. Private. Exactly. There we go. LS. So I'm going to show you the hard way, and then I'm going to show you the easy way. So I'm going to do BO tab. Again, it's the only thing in there. Bootcamp. That's awesome. LS. Now I see the hello.js. Okay. So if you don't want to do that navigation, again, I think command line learning it is great. You can just, and over time, you'll find yourself doing this more. Open an integrated terminal. Let me show you what that is. I'm going to go ahead and drop the terminal for a minute. Right? Normally, I think, let's see if the terminal, if I do new again, it goes back to the default, right? Or to the starting folder. So in my setup, I've opened the 93 directory that shows both of the repos. And so in here, if I do this, right click, open an integrated terminal, it automatically not automatically, it changes that terminal setting to do that. And now I can type, by the way, I can do this before I type it, I can do version. And I can see that I have Node installed. I should have done that right after I installed, but I didn't. So now I can type Node and HE tab without having to type the whole thing, and boom, I'm good to go. Okay. So the other thing I can do now that I've done that, is get a little more experience with Git. I know. Git. Okay. So Git Add. Now I can do Git status, right? Good. I have an untracked file, which means in this case, I have a file that's been added that's not being tracked. So I could do git add either hello.js directly, or because if I had multiples here, right? Good. Git commit -m, right? And then I would say that's my commit. Right, cool. So again, what I've done is I've added it now. So if I do git status now, I see that there's I should have done it actually after I did the add and before I did the commit so you could see it. But on your side, you can do this. And so now what it shows me is I have one commit locally that is not on my server. And again, I think I just want to show you this because I think it's good to understand. I'm going to go to GitHub. I'm already logged in. I'm going to go to my 93. I'm in my private. And so now I see none of that structure that I've created here, that directory and that folder, because I have not done the last step. All the work I've been doing up until this point is on my local system. So now when I do git push, I'm just reading because I didn't change anything on that side. So it wants me to do a fetch first. Oh, you know what? Here's why. I was actually playing around. Now I know why. I was playing around on my Mac side. So actually I think I can just do fetch. Let's see what's the command for fetch. So this is where again I caused this, and this is actually kind of good to know. It's like once you set up your local environment, what you want to do is only push code from your local to the server, because what I did and messing around and coming on my Mac side and doing some of this is now my local system is like, hey, there's something out of sync here. So hang on just a second. Let me just for a second look at this. So I think what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to just do a git pull. Oh, I think that fixed it. Now what git pull does is it actually pulls in any changes that I did, and I think that was probably in the git ignore file that happened, or in the readme probably. Yeah, actually I can see it right here what happened. So this should not happen to you. Okay, so now I should be able to do the push, and it totally works. So, sometimes what I think of as a mistake that I don't want to show you is good because it may be something you run into. So actually, now let's do this. So now that I've done that, I hit refresh. Okay, there we go. Cool. So here's what you want to do. Now that you've got that working, you've got that process down. Now you actually get to start working on the videos that you have for tonight. Okay. And again, where you're going to put these, right, is in this case, and he's going to call it basics, right? So we'll just kind of give you that little preview here. So under the boot camp, he's going to create another directory, and I believe he's going to call it basics. And then in this folder, you're going to end up creating files and folders here. And you'll, so folders and then files, and then you'll push this to GitHub. Okay. I'm going to end with I'm going to go back through and just watch these real quick and recreate these files. But I just want to show you how you submit. So once you get through all the way through 14, okay, what you'll do, and it shows, and this is really key, is after each video, right, what you want to do is do a add and commit to your local repo after each video. So as an example, right, we're actually on, I'm going to roll this up. Okay, so now we're actually on to, and I don't think there's any coding in 9. So it'd be after 10, right? Watch all of 10 and code along with whatever he's going to do here. Okay. And then at the end of the video, you do a commit. And actually, I think it's really good. And I actually say this here, your commit message should tell me the section in the video that code represents. Okay. So actually, I'll tell you what, I'll pause, do the first one so you'll have an example. Okay, I'm glad I did that because I know that there's a couple things here that can trip you up a little bit. Okay, so I've finished the first video in his code along for the section that we're doing. And then what I had done is I had created that hello world. And if I just roll the basics up, you'll see I created it the same level of boot camp. And so and it's fine, you can do it that way. And then, but what you want to do is create that folder, right? And then inside of that folder, create that string .js file. Okay. And then again, use that little fun technique, right? Open in or navigate, whichever works. And then that's where you run node. And then we do strings. Okay. Now, what I ended up doing in mine was I was playing around, because you're going to learn this, is that the concatenation method that he uses here is fine, and you'll see that in use. But what has become more popular, and he'll cover this later, is the template, string template. And it's just a little more flexible. You don't have to do the spaces. It's a little more, in my opinion, readable. Again, I was just playing just to show you the example. So now let's actually do the git add. Let's do git status so we can see. So we have some files again that haven't been added. So what you want to do is every time you finish a video, and this was my point of showing you, is you want to do git add. So in this case, there's only one. So let's actually see. We're in the basics directory now. I have noticed, depending, sometimes sometimes, let's just actually play with this. Let's say I backed up one directory and I wasn't. If I did git add star, looks like it did, right? So git status, I believe, added that. But there are sometimes, and I think it's more related to like the git ignore, where you actually have to be in the current directory. But regardless, you're probably in that directory already because of working in there. Okay, but I just wanted to show you. So I could be in another directory and Git already knows, hey, you have a file out in that subdirectory that's been changed. And so now what I would do, oh, not here. I don't want to open this one. So now that I do git add, again, after each video, you want to do this process and then git commit -m. Then I would say section 3, I think this is video 10. Okay. Now you can go ahead and do the next one and then get, oh, it's actually thinking I'm doing a search up here, but go ahead and complete all the way through all the videos you have for this section. Okay. So, here we go. So what you're going to do is go all the way through 14. Okay, so you're going to look at numbers, more on variables. You're actually going to build a little temperature converter, which is great. And then you're going to do booleans and comparisons. And then when you're done with here, again, after each video, stop, do the commit. And when you're here, after you do the commit, then what you could do is do the push. Now you can do the push after each one. It's really up to you, but you only need to do the push. There we go. Okay. Again, I didn't get that issue here because I was, what I had in my local was fine to be pushed because it wasn't, it knows, it tracks it. So it wasn't flagged as being off sync. It just needed to push code. All right, so let's do the very last step here. So where's my canvas? I think it's right here. Okay, so in Canvas, what you need to do once you're done, right, is you need to submit the URL, and this is what it talks about, of your commit history. So let me show you how to find that. So I'm going to go back to GitHub. I'm going to refresh the screen because now if I look into Boot Camp, I'll see a basics directory just to show you. But this is actually not the link I want. And now if you go over here and hit history, then history actually shows you. Now you should have a commit for each video. So let's just agree how many you should see. I must have it. Oh yeah, I have it. Actually, you know what I did it is I ended up putting it on my, oh, by the way, for me, this is where dual monitors comes in really handy. I actually put this on my other monitor and I just watched and coded along. Now for me, I also increase the speed because I've been through this. It's really up to you. I can't control how you do it. You have to figure out how well these concepts translate, which we will talk about as we move forward. So you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 commits. Okay. So when you're done in this, you'll know you're done when you have 5 commits. And what I do, and I'll show you how to submit this, but what I do is I go in there and look to make sure all the coding got done for each video. Right. So again, when you're done, you should see all those commits here. And all you have to do is come up here and hit copy. Go into here, start the assignment. And you will, and by the way, this process happens now every time we do a code along. Okay. I'm going to hit paste. Cool. So what happens is when you submit the assignment, then what I do is I see, and this is a nice little thing Canvas does, a little congratulations, is I then get a notification. I'll just leave student view to show you the final piece of this, is I get a notification that somebody has turned in work. Right. And so here it is. And then what I will do is go in there and I will look at your link. I'll pull it up and I'll look to make sure you have all the code for for all the videos we have for that section. Okay. I hope this helps you understand what you need to do. If not, please reach out on Discord so we can give you some more information. Have a good one.